morning and hello, I'm Professor Coden. This is the Forex Supermodel Racing Review and Forex Briefing for Thursday the 27th of April 2023. Yesterday we had no bet, so that was for Wednesday the 26th. So the account static at approximately plus 66.8 units, so 67 from a peak of 74.5 roughly, with a big drawdown of 12.5 units previously, so we've come up a bit and we're static at the moment, so not too bad. Today we've had a good look at the racing and it's still not very clever. We're not betting it, but we've done a lot of work on it, and Beverly's we've got these races just to pass on to you really. Beverly the 150 then, that's this favourite number one looks pretty reasonable, but we won't be touching it. So that's in the 150. In the 250, you've got it's a very difficult race, that is. You've got number 6 UMAX, which has got potential. You've got this C Flawless number 1, which is the likely favourite, which we were considering using as an anchor horse, but there's too many with a shout really. The only one sensibly you can rule out in that race is number 2, Old Toon Loon. Evident is an FTO, high priced FTO. Lycio number 4 is another potential horse. So and Mr. Cuddy number 5 you can probably get rid of. So really you're looking at 6, 4, 3 or 1, which in a 6-runner race isn't that helpful. So that's that. The 325 at Beverly. The interesting one is number 4, Common Acclaim, but it's got issues, but that's potentially a decent horse, but we can't quite bring ourselves to have a go at it. But it's so that's number 4, Common Acclaim in the 325, and Chelmsford 8 o'clock. You've got 3 decent horses in there really. You've got number 1, number 3 and number 4, but they've all got issues, and they're not worth having a go as far as we're concerned. So 1, 3 and 4 in the 8 o'clock at Chelmsford, and that's where we're at. So can't do much better than that. There's some better racing coming through tomorrow. Was it Friday tomorrow? And obviously Saturday will be right. So hopefully we'll get in again and move the account up. We're determined to get this account over 100 units shortly, and I think we will very shortly. So anyway, that's that. On the Forex front, we headed you up in a good direction yesterday. If you watched the video, we had a good trade on the euro dollar. We sold the euro dollar at about 1.1060 and change. Remember we said if you look at the 10-minute chart, it formed like a potential double top, but the main reason, that's just by the by, but the main reason we sold that is because they ramped it prior to this US durable goods, about 45 minutes or so, and you've got a big buffer there. You want to think to yourself, where would I be comfortable trading short with no stops? And that is a classic example of that. We ended up with about 55 pips out of that in about 10 or 15 minutes. Obviously we were monitoring the market all day, but the actual length of time the trade was in was relatively short, which is what we like. So that was good. If you want to look at that trade, the only thing that wrecked it was this ECB did Gundos, or whatever his name is, opened his trap and said wages are going to accelerate. So that sort of put the cap on the fall. Otherwise we'd have done much better. We'd have ended up with about 70 or 80 pips on that. Bearing in mind that's over numerous trades, not in terms of a total high to low movement or whatever. So that's that. But if you want to look at that trade, it's worth looking at. As we said, we gave you the buffer point, which was 1.1060. They got there prior to this data risk, and that's the ideal scenario for shorting really, as far as we're concerned. Anyway, today you've got potentially another one, but we'll see what happens. you've got 1330 R+1 US GDP, and you've also got this PCE, personal consumption expenditure, which is arguably more important in terms of market movement. So that's a tier 2. So anyway, we'll keep you posted there. So but in general, if you want to think about trading on a day trade basis, you want to think, where would I be comfortable putting a trade on with no stops. Now, if I'm shorting, it's when you've got an up buffer, and if I'm going long, it's where you've got a down buffer, and that's usually a data risk buffer, which is and you've got a window where you can trade relatively profitably in a short period of time at minimum risk of it going the other way on you. So anyway, that's food for thought. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and goodbye.